YouTube, I'm back. I took a little hiatus there, but I'm back in action now, and I have an extra special surprise for you guys. First off, brand new, never before seen leg day. I was joined for this leg day by my good friend and former client, Sophia, who is a super athlete badass. She does CrossFit, she does Hyrox, she does bodybuilding style training. She doesn't necessarily train for one singular sport, she just loves training. And she's really good at it and stays in incredible shape all the time. Literally 3 days before this workout you're seeing right now, she competed in Hyrox Houston in the women's pro division and did fantastic. And that's without really training for that directly. Again, she just loves to train, stays in incredible shape, and she can ball out and perform kind of whenever she wants to. So this brand new leg day came about because I sent my round of check-ins to Ben beginning of last week, and overall his feedback was great. Definitely everything's come up a ton. My arms are finally getting the picture and are looking a lot more balanced with my physique. Kind of the final missing link, he said, is we need to get my quads fuller. They've certainly come up this off season. There's definitely more tissue there, but it just needs to be a little bit rounder and fuller to match the rest of my physique. Now, the leg days I have been doing lately are super heavy, pushing poundages, focusing on progressive overload. I was up to 6 plates a side on the hack squat for I think 12 pause reps, and then 6 plates a side on Smith squats for 6 to 8 reps, just hammering heavy weight. I had some aches and pains cropping up. My knees started bothering me. My low back was getting a little cranky. I had some nerve pain going on. So my body was definitely starting to fight back against that style of training for my lower half. So that, paired with the fact that my quads weren't really filling out the way that we need them to, Ben said, let's switch to something a little bit more high volume. I replied, okay, so higher rep stuff, like 12 to 15. He said, like railroads on the leg press type of shit. And if you don't know what that is, you're about to see it. And it's awesomely terrible. So when we finalized this new quad day together, and I went through it the first time solo, absolutely obliterated me. My exact words to Ben were, I've never had a quad pump before, because the pump from my knee to my hip was so excruciatingly massive that it was like nothing I had ever experienced before in my quads. So I reached out to my buddy. I said, Sophia, you gotta get a load of this new leg day. It's right up your alley. You're probably going to be a lot better at it than me, given that her muscular endurance is off the charts. And she said, yeah, I gotta get through this race, and then I'm happy to join you. I said, okay, hop in on any Tuesday you want. She said, how's next Tuesday? I said, okay, if you're sure. And sure enough, she showed up and got it done. So as you saw, we started with the adductor machine, just like I did before, followed by the seated leg curl. One thing Ben did tell me is that my hamstrings are solid, which the hamstrings are definitely a strong point for me. And he said there's really no reason to increase volume there or prioritize them any more than we already have been, because they've responded really, really well. So just worked up to 2 working sets on the seated leg curl, and then from there went on to this leg extension. Now, a couple things regarding this leg extension. He did tell me to really exaggerate my lockout here. Before, I would go up to a straight but soft knee, and he said to really lock that sucker out and almost try to pull the back of your knee up off the seat. I immediately felt the contraction way harder and way higher up. So I felt these way up closer to my hip and felt the pump all the way from the knee to the hip as well. Couple straight sets here of 12 to 15, both to failure, and then a widowmaker, same weight, all the way to 30 reps. Which brings us to the leg press. Now, if you're not familiar with railroads, allow me to fill you in. It is essentially a super high rep, high volume pyramid up and down. You start with 1 plate per side for 10 reps, 2 plates for 20 reps, 3 plates for 30, etc. until you get stomped, and then you got to go all the way back down in the same way. The first time I did this, I managed to get to 5 plates a side for 50, and it was an all-out death set, as was the 4 plates per side for 40 on the way down. This week, I did the same thing, but I cut way down on rest pauses. The first week, I kind of had to pause with my legs locked out for several seconds here and there to make it to the 50 reps and then to the 40 reps. This time I just tried to push through. I think I only paused once on the 50 repper, and I think not at all on the 40 repper. So definitely improved my time on this, and it did feel stronger. So next week, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go up to 6 plates. Sophia did really good here too. I had her start with 1 plate like me and go right up to 2 plates for 20. That felt like somewhat of a challenge, so she stayed there for 30 and then insisted on doing another set of 30 with 2 plates, and then just sort of stayed at 2 plates for the rest of the pyramid. Went down to 20 reps, went down to 10 reps, but didn't lower the weight at all. It was a lot of fun going through something like this with someone who I would consider definitely an endurance athlete, far more than myself. She said that it felt most similar to how she would feel after a hard sled pull, which makes a lot of sense, right? It's a ton of lactic acid, it's an excruciating quad pump, and it was nothing that she wasn't familiar with. From there, we did one last hamstring exercise, which was this kneeling single leg hamstring curl here. Like I was telling her, I have probably my best mind muscle connection with my hamstrings. I think that's why they're so responsive to training and why I just really don't need to attack them with that much volume in order to get them to grow. They're just super responsive. Every single rep of a leg curl, whether it's seated or kneeling, is excruciating. It feels like my hamstrings are going to literally rip off the bone. So I don't know if that's why or not, but for whatever reason, I really don't need more than just a couple hamstring curls to develop those muscles. I'm not saying that's what you should do or what's best for everybody, especially not if it's a weak point for you. But for myself, at this stage currently, it just seems like it's enough. After all that, we finished up on the pendulum squat. 3 sets, 12 to 15 reps, straight sets, but at or very close to failure. And at this point, it's hard not to be close to failure because my quads were so messed up that even just a plate on that thing felt hard. But I was able to work up to 2 plates and a quarter on there, which is about half of what I was up to when I was really pushing poundage and focusing on lower volume progressive overload stuff. So that'll tell you my quads are definitely more taxed from this workout than they were from my previous leg day. there you have it, guys. That was leg day. It was brutal. Super high volume, super high rep, crazy pump, crazy burn. Comment below if you've had experience with railroads on the leg press before. I want to know how far you made it and what was your experience like. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And I will be back on track here, so you'll be seeing a lot more of me. See you guys on the next one.